So let's go over the drive system first, now that I have my hands on the game and I can actually show you guys as I'm talking. The drive system is the main core part of Street Fighter 6, and the Burnout and all the mechanics and stuff are all tied to the bar you see at the top of the screen. You have 6 bars for your drive meter, and your various moves that you do all take up a certain amount of drive gauge. And this drive gauge will refill naturally through the round, and there's like 5 drive moves that you can do. We're gonna go through all of them. You start off with all 6 drive bars at the beginning of every single round, which makes this game very interesting because that means all the tools you have you get at the very beginning every single round. Everything's accessible to you. It's not something like a comeback mechanic, you know, like V-trigger where you only get it after blocking with your face for a while near the end, or Ultra in Street Fighter 4 where you only get it for blocking with your face. So let's go over the mechanics now that you can use this drive meter for. And well, first let me just show you guys just naturally draining your bar. So you see how it refills? Wait, is it gonna refill? Yeah, see? It refills very, very slowly. You don't have to do anything to refill it. And the cool part is if your opponent blocks any attacks, you'll notice it drains their drive gauge. Lights, mediums, fireballs. Your opponent doesn't take chip damage in this game. Instead, blocking everything drains their drive gauge instead. So even if you don't want to use your drive gauge, the opponent can manipulate it so you can, right? When you're in Burnout, you do take chip damage, but we'll get into that later. So I just want to give you guys an idea of how the bar works. Both bars work. Now let's go over the mechanics. So the first is drive impact. To do drive impact, you just press both heavies at the same time. Heavy punch and heavy kick at the same time. And what this is it's similar to Folk's attack. It's an armor forward moving attack with a lot of properties when you hit your opponent. So the first thing about this is it's slow. It starts up in 26 frames. I can't hold it down. I can't change how fast it is. No matter what, it's 26 frames. It's not like Focus where you can charge it. Now, when your opponent blocks this, they get pushed backwards. You can block it, but it pushes them. So it's not the best to block it because you're getting pushed to the corner. On top of this, if your opponent blocks it while near a corner, it crushes them, and basically it makes it so that you can open up into a combo. Now this means the corner is really dangerous in this game, and even if you're not even that close to the corner, you don't think you are, this thing could push you just enough. If I can get the right, don't worry guys, using YouTube movie magic, I could edit this and make it look like it was my first try. Right here, there we go, perfect, first try. So if you're not even close to the corner, the pushback, you might underestimate how dangerous it is, right? And then when they're stunned, you can juggle them, you can do they're open up for a combo. They're basically stunned. Really scary. So when you get hit by it, it knocks your butt down, you hit the floor, you hit the deck, right? Another thing too is when you get hit by this thing, look how much drive gauge the opponent loses. So look at their drive gauge, hit them, boom, they lose an entire bar. If I hit the opponent with my normal attacks, you don't lose drive gauge. See, they're not losing bar when I hit them. But this does a lot. It costs 1 bar and it drains 1 bar from the opponent when you hit them. Now, on top of that, if you hit the opponent on a punish counter, not counter hit, so when we put a counter hit, it still knocks them down. But if you punish counter them, that's when their attack is coming back, recovering. Then you get the big animation. So you still drain a ton of bar from them. More than 1, it's like 1.5 now. You get a full, combo, basically. Just like getting hit by like level 3 Focus in Street Fighter 4. Now on top of this, what makes Drive Impact dangerous is that it has armor too. So if the opponent is doing something like a fireball, he's throwing the fireball, he's recovering, and he gets hit, right? And on top of this, Drive Impact has armor. So you can kind of just throw this out. On the surface level, you can throw this out, and it's kind of like this very scary move that it's a big part about this game, and everyone has to be aware of it. And it's really flashy when it hits. And if the opponent does their drive impact and you do yours around the same time, the game will slow down. It goes all cinematic. Whoever does theirs second wins. It's like a game of chicken. If both drive impacts hit at the exact same frame, you're trying. There we go. They collide at the same time, then both players get their drive meter back, and you go back to neutral. Or neutral as in like you're both at the other sides of the screen. Very rare. I've only had it happen to me once legitimately in a match, but it does happen. One last thing that I'll mention about drive impact is that when the opponent's in Burnout, when they're put into Burnout, if you use drive impact on them and wall splat them, they will be stunned. This stun you cannot mash out of. They cannot mash out of it and you'll get a full combo on them. And then after they exit from stun, their drive meter completely refills. Even if they block it, they'll still get stunned from being wall splat, making it really dangerous. So even if they block it, you could be in serious trouble. The next mechanic is drive parry. So drive parry is you tap the medium buttons, medium punch and medium kick at the same time. Now, by just tapping this thing, the parry part, the armor part, starts up instantly on the first frame. But parry is really slow. It has 29 frames of recovery. So just by tapping it, it's not like a Street Fighter 3 parry where you just press forward and, you know what I mean, nothing happens. This is like an actual move. Think like Ryu V Skill 1 from Street Fighter 5. Parry, and then you have to recover afterwards. When you parry, it costs really little, half of 1 bar of drive gauge. On the top left you see it. And if you hold it down, it will continue to drain slowly. And during this entire time I'm holding it down, you can parry anything. So when the opponent is parrying, they will parry any direction, low and high hits, it doesn't matter. Overheads, anything. You can parry anything. You can parry supers, parry special moves, parry whatever you want. As long as you're holding this down, all attacks will not hit you. The big weakness is you could be thrown. And when you get thrown, you take big deeps. You will take almost a double damage throw if you get thrown, and it will be a hard knockdown, so they can't back rise. That's like the big weakness of parry. But parry, once again, it's a lot different than Street Fighter 3 parry because it has recovery. So when you parry a move, you cannot act right away. You have to recover first, no matter what. If I parry his jump in, can't hit him back because I have to recover, for example. See, I'm doing jabs, he's able to block because I have to go through the recovery phase. Even if I do like DP. See, it said reversal on the left side of the screen. I did it as soon as I possibly could. So parry against fireballs. So you get just as much drive gauge back if you parry it and you don't hold it down too long. If you go like this, then you're gonna get more, because every time I activate parry, it costs half a meter, right? And I get a little bit back every time. But if I held it down, I don't have to use the cost of the startup, you know? So if someone's zoning you like crazy, you can just like hold it down. Another thing about parry is that it's kind of like a barrier. There we go. It's pushing me back. It's pushing him out, you know? Is parry like flawless defense? You can think of it like that. I think the best way to think about parry is that it's like a barrier. And there's a lot more to it. I'm going to do another video about it as well, about the uses of parry. But parries can be good for like mix-ups. Like I said, it parries in every direction, up and down. But it has just the glaring weakness of throws, you know? It also starts up in a single frame. So if the opponent knocks me down, you know, and it does like a meteor or whatever, so it'll knock me down, I can just hold parry this entire time and it'll start up instantly on the first frame. So if you parry, I think it's within the first 2 frames. So it's only a 2-frame window. That's extremely small. You can get a perfect parry. So if I time this right, I'm doing it too soon. There we go. So when you get a perfect parry, it will freeze the screen. And this is like the Street Fighter 3 parry that you guys remember. And since it freezes the screen, you're actually so plus and the opponent's like frozen in time. You can get some really good punishes regardless of what your opponent is doing. So you can perfect parry fireballs. It's just hard to see. Right, I did it right there. You'll hear the sound and you'll see that kind of purple glow. And what it does is it allows me to recover instantly. And you can walk forward and gain ground on someone who's zoning you. Like that. So if you get really good at it, it can be really rewarding against people who zone. Okay, Drive Rush now. Drive Rush is definitely the most fun ability in this game. It's what opens up the rush down, the meta, the combo potential. It's very, very cool. There's a million things you can do with it. So the Drive Rush, there's two ways. One is you dash out of a parry. So you hold parry and press forward, and you'll do your Drive Rush. You cannot tap parry and press forward. No matter how fast you input it, you have to hold parry. Another thing about Drive Rush is it's not quite a dash. It's like a run. So here's like Ryu's forward dash. And then here's the Drive Rush from full screen away. See, Ryu will literally run at you. Everyone kind of has their own little animation to it. So to do Drive Rush raw from parry is quite cheap. You do the Drive Rush, it costs just a tad bit more than 1 bar of drive meter, but the reward for it is really good. The other thing is that if you cancel it from a special cancel normal, so if I do like crouching medium kick, I can go into Drive Rush and it'll cost 3 bars, the most expensive ability in the game, and for a good reason, because this is where you do all your crazy combos. But you can only cancel it from special cancelable normal. So you can't do it from a sweep, for example. That's not special cancelable. Can't do it from Ryu's medium kick, because you can't cancel Ryu's medium kick into a special. It has to be something you can cancel in special. So crouching medium punch, I can do it. Crouching fierce, I can do it, for example, just so you guys know. So what does Drive Rush do besides make you move forward? The moving forward part is still really useful on its own. You know, it's going to create situations where you get oaking. Like if you hit someone really far away, you know, with a donkey kick, you know, you're not quite in dash range to get in. You have to dash twice, right? Like you gotta dash twice to get in on him. But with Drive Rush, it opens up a door so everyone can kind of get in and rush down because you have Drive Rush now. So it's gonna create oaky options that you couldn't otherwise do before. You can go into a block string, right? And then you can Drive Rush, just like Ken run canceling in Street Fighter V. Every character can do this. This kind of style of rushing down and mixing the opponent up. You know, you can go in and you can shimmy, all of that. The other crazy part about Drive Rush is that it enhances the next attack your character does. Ryu standing medium punch is -1 on block, but if I do it from a Drive Rush, it's +3 on block now. Now we're in Street Fighter V. Now we have block strings. It's only the first button. So if you do two hits like this, you know, it's back to -1 with my crouching light punch. You know, crouching light kick is -3. I do crouching light kick into this, it's +1. So when you get in, you're gonna get instant pressure. When the opponent gets hit by it, it's the same thing. Standing medium punch, it's +7. Standing medium punch now +11, so it gives it +4. So this is gonna extend a lot of your combos, right? So now, you know, before if you do crouching heavy punch, you're only +3, you can't do anything. You pretty much just have to, you know, go into uppercut. But if you Drive Rush into crouching heavy punch, all of a sudden you're +7. Now you can do cool stuff. It makes everyone's normals very deadly. It makes whiff punishing very deadly. If the opponent like sticks out a medium kick, punch the stomach. There, like this. Now on top of that, the Drive Rush stacks with counter hit. So if you do a counter hit adds +2. Now it's +6. Punish counter adds +4. So it's +8. But if I do a Drive Rush, it's +4 on top of that +2 or +4. If I do a Drive Rush, now it's +12. A +12 light punch. So in the future, when people get better at the game and they can confirm off of these counter hits and punish counters, you pretty much have the freedom to explore so much with this. Another cool thing is that it works off of multi-hitting moves. So for example, Ryu's overhead is 2 hits, right? So it's +2 on hit, But if you drive rush into overhead, it's +6, so now you can combo. There's overhead, right? So this creates some cool scenarios where like you're rushing them down and you go for a reset from an overhead. So anyone who has an overhead, even if it's multi-hitting, can do things like this. And I'm just kind of barely scratching the surface. The next mechanic's really easy to explain. It's overdrive. All overdrive is EX moves. So when you do a special move with a punch button, you press 2 punches instead and you'll do the OD. And OD takes 2 bars of drive meter to do. So you have basically 3 EX moves per round. But the interesting thing to note is that your EX moves or overdrive moves take bar from your drive meter, not from your super meter below. Those are different. So your super is not tied to it. So you're always going to have supers in this game. And because of that, you're going to be able to use both OD moves and supers in a combo. Like use all the meter together, for example, and do something like, I don't know, like this. You know, you're using your super meter and you're also using your drive gauge. And you get a lot of, you know, total damage from that. And the 5th and final mechanic is drive reversal. This is the most unused mechanic in the game so far. And it's basically like V reversal from Street Fighter V, but there's some small differences, which I'm going to point out right now. Instead of pressing forward and 3 punches or 3 kicks, depending on your character, in Street Fighter 6 it's just forward and heavies. Okay. And you do your drive reversal. And it's used like, you know, the same way, so... There we go. We knock them back. You see they take gray damage too? And the gray health is just like Street Fighter V where they'll recover and you knock them away. So the differences for a drive reversal in this game, they're throw invincible. So if someone jumps in and presses throw, he can't throw me. So the drive reversal is, you don't have to worry as much about what getting hit by the opponent with it. Oh no. Right, it's the other way around, sorry. It armor breaks drive impact, my bad. And I think Capcom changed this, because I don't remember this before. I swear drive impact used to beat it. Capcom made the drive reversal pretty good against most things. Another big difference, it's minus on block. It's -8. I don't know if it's different per character, but they're minus. In Street Fighter V, it wasn't like that. So far, all the drive reversals knock down in this game, and the range is really poor, right? Yeah, thanks for noting that too. The range is really small. Oops. You can cancel it from parry, which can be useful because in parry, if you don't want to wait for the recovery, you can just go into, you know, drive reversal. So that's all the drive mechanics you get. Now, the next thing we should talk about is Burnout. So when you run out of drive gauge completely, you're put into Burnout. And when you're in Burnout, see that bar on the top of the screen? You see how it slowly refills? During this whole Burnout state, your character cannot use any drive moves at all. You can't parry, you can't use drive impact, can't use drive reversal, you can't even do EX moves anymore. You have nothing. You are basically ST mode. And it takes a really long time for you to get it back. You do not want to be in Burnout in this game. You still have access to supers though. That's why I call it ST mode. But that's it. Now on top of this, what makes it extra scary, you're more plus on block now. Notice all my buttons are plus. My light punch is +3. My crouch light punch is +3. You're now playing Street Fighter V. So everything is massively plus. It's almost as if every button you press on your opponent is now like a drive rush button. So when you're in Burnout, the opponent gets much more pressure on you. And then what's even more scary is that you now take chip damage. So now I'm doing chip damage to him. See his health? So now his health is going down. From special moves and super moves. You can kill your opponent with this. So it becomes back to like old school Street Fighter, you know, or Street Fighter 4. So Burnout's really bad and it takes a really long time. I already showed you guys the stun, so you already know how deadly that is. I should add that since they take more block, drive impact becomes more dangerous because When you cancel drive impact from a normal attack like this, the block screen is tighter and therefore it's harder for you to jump out. So be aware when you're using your drive meter. So that's kind of like what makes this drive system in Street Fighter 6 so cool. It's kind of like this risk reward of using all this meter, starting with it max. You can use it all your way. You can be very conservative with it. You know, only use it for ODs or to blow up with one big combo, or you can be a maniac and rush down with it, blow all your meter at the start of the round, and just use it like crazy. It's whatever you decide to do. Everyone kind of has their own style with it, how they like to use the meter, and that's what makes it really unique to Street Fighter 6. I think that's it, right? That's the whole drive system.